Hey Steelers Nation, welcome back. Grab your seats because today we've got a packed episode full of updates, speculation, and that off-season drama we all secretly live for. We're diving deep into 5 players from the Pittsburgh Steelers who could realistically be traded either before or during the 2025 NFL season. And before you start yelling at your screen, no, we're not saying all of them will be traded. But based on everything going on, there's a legit chance some movement could happen depending on how the season unfolds, how the team performs, and how certain contract talks progress or fall apart. So keep that in mind as we go forward. Now look, before we even get into names, I want to pose a question for you in the comments. When the trade deadline hits mid-season in 2025, do you think the Steelers will be buyers or sellers? If you think they'll push for a playoff run and look to buy, drop a B in the comments. But if you think they might pull back and become sellers, drop an S. Let's get that debate going, because this team could honestly go either way depending on how the first half of the season shakes out. All right, so let me be super clear about something right off the bat. Most of the players we're going to talk about today are not expected to be moved during the offseason. The idea here is that if the team finds itself out of contention or if contract talks hit a wall, then they might decide to flip some of these names for future assets. So don't freak out and start assuming deals are happening tomorrow. That said, there's one name in particular who I believe might be on the move before the season even starts. And I gotta say, I'm not happy about that possibility. Honestly, I'd be disappointed if it happened. I'd much rather see this player stick around for one more year. I want to see how he performs with a new quarterback and how he develops both on and off the field. But the reality is, the Steelers have been floating his name in trade talks, and if contract negotiations get messy, which they might, things could spiral quickly. Now, every time I bring up the possibility of this guy being traded, I get bombarded with messages like, "Why do you want him gone?" And let me be clear once again, I don't want him gone. I like him. I think he could be a real asset if things go right. I'm just acknowledging the reality that the team might make a move. So here's what's going on. There's been some reporting that suggests tension between this player and the organization. But at the same time, other sources say he gets along well with the head coach, which just makes it even harder to figure out what's really happening behind the scenes. What I don't expect is for the team to hand him a big contract extension right now. If he plays out of his mind this season, puts up crazy numbers, and becomes an undeniable force, sure, they might reopen talks next offseason. But for now, I doubt it. And if he does push for an extension, which is definitely possible, that's when things could get ugly. He might say something like, "Pay me or trade me," or even threaten to sit out games if he doesn't get what he wants. And if that's the case, if the Steelers are forced into a corner, they might choose to move him. The problem is, if they trade him, they better get a legitimate replacement. Because as we saw last season, having a number 1 receiver with no real number 2 next to him makes it easy for defenses to shut things down. We lived through that already. One elite receiver is not enough. And while I do like some of the younger guys in the room and think 1 or 2 of them have upside, none of them are proven just yet. So if you're trading away someone of this caliber, you have to get a wide receiver back in the deal, not just draft picks. The offense would fall apart otherwise. Let's just say it. If the Steelers trade George Pickens, and I really hope they don't, they must receive a receiver in return. A top pick is nice, sure, but that doesn't help you on the field this season. You need someone who can contribute right away. Now, several teams have been mentioned as possible trade partners. The New York Giants are one, especially since they showed interest last year and reportedly had their eyes on Darius Slayton, who's known for stretching the field. Then there's Jalen Tolbert from the Dallas Cowboys. Remember, there were draft day talks between Pittsburgh and Dallas involving Pickens. Other names that have come up, Jacoby Myers of the Las Vegas Raiders and Marquez Valdez-Scantling from Seattle. Both are interesting options, especially Valdez-Scantling, who's played with elite quarterbacks before and brings that deep threat capability the Steelers are always looking for. Oh, and there's Adam Thielen, who was almost a Steeler last season before the price got too high. Allen Lazard also fits the mold of someone who's played with top-tier quarterbacks and could slot in well. But here's the thing. All of this depends on how the Steelers see their season playing out. If they think they can compete, no way they make that trade. But if they start sliding in the standings and things look bleak, Suddenly those phone calls get returned real quick. Dallas, in particular, feels like a strong candidate. They've shown serious interest in Pickens, and they've made bold receiver moves in the past. They're not afraid to take character risks if they believe the talent is worth it. And honestly, they might be more aggressive than most teams when it comes to making an offer. The Giants are also a strong option, especially given the current offensive system. Pickens would slide in perfectly, especially with a quarterback looking to make a name for himself. If he becomes available, both those teams will be all over it. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about another name that might, and I emphasize might, be traded. This is a guy who's widely considered the most valuable player on the Steelers' defense. I'm talking about a real superstar. I'd honestly hate to see him go, but you have to recognize how the NFL works. If the team isn't competitive, and if the player wants more money than the organization is willing to pay, and if another team comes in with a ridiculous offer of draft picks, then yeah, you have to at least consider it. Here's the situation. This player could very well demand more than $40 million per year. That's right, more than $40 million. And the only non-quarterbacks who can make that kind of money are true generational talents. He knows that. His agent knows that. And the Steelers know that. So if they don't see eye to eye on his value, and if a team offers a huge haul of picks, maybe that's when you pull the trigger. Again, I don't think it'll happen. I think the Steelers will stay in the playoff hunt and keep him around. But I can't ignore the possibility. One of them is a wide receiver who I believe will not be traded. In fact, he's almost certainly sticking around long term. So if you're thinking about buying his jersey, you're probably safe. But another guy, a running back, is a bit of a wild card. He's scheduled to hit free agency in 2026. And if the Steelers don't plan on giving him a big contract, they might try to move him for an early day 3 pick. He's talented, no doubt. Fans love him. But if there's a young back waiting in the wings and the team is ready to look ahead, a trade might make sense. Another name to watch is a speedy receiver who's often overlooked. He's got elite acceleration, can take the top off a defense, and even though people often think he's best suited for the slot, he's actually more dangerous on the outside. He made some big-time catches in crucial moments last season. So if a contender is looking for a true deep threat WR3 at the deadline, and the Steelers are out of the hunt, that deal could happen too. And finally, there's one more key player who's entering a make-or-break season. He'll also hit free agency in 2026, and if the team doesn't think he's part of the long-term plan, they might be willing to flip him for a mid-to-late draft pick. Again, this is all under the assumption that the Steelers are not competing. If they're in the playoff mix, I don't see these trades happening. But if the wheels fall off, everything's on the table. So there you go, a full breakdown of the 5 Steelers who could be on the trade block, depending on how things go. Most likely, none of them get moved. But we've seen stranger things happen in this league. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is George Pickens staying or going? Are we buying at the deadline or selling? Sound off, and let's keep the conversation going. Now, let's go a little deeper into what makes these potential moves even more complex. For a team like the Steelers, navigating trades isn't just about roster needs or talent levels. It's about timing, cap space, locker room chemistry, and future planning. The front office has to weigh what each player brings now versus what they could bring back in return later. Take someone like George Pickens again. Yes, he's volatile. Yes, he has moments where his body language or sideline antics raise questions. But no one could deny his raw talent. He's the kind of receiver who changes coverages the moment he steps onto the field. Defensive coordinators have to plan for him, even if he only gets 4 targets a game. That kind of impact doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but it absolutely matters. Trading someone like that is not as simple as pulling the trigger on a good offer. It's about what that trade does to your offensive structure, your locker room morale, and your long-term strategy. It's also about message control. What does it say to your younger players if a guy with his upside is sent packing over contract squabbles or behavior concerns? On the flip side, what message are you sending if you overpay a guy who hasn't fully proven consistency or leadership? It's a tightrope act. Same goes for that key defender we mentioned earlier, the guy looking to reset the non-quarterback contract market. If you trade someone like that, it's not just about losing a Pro Bowl level talent. It's about losing a tone setter, a guy whose presence shifts the identity of the entire defense. And for a city like Pittsburgh, where defense is in the DNA of the franchise, that's not a decision anyone takes lightly. But there's no hiding from the economics of the league. If he wants more than $40 million per year, and the team sees that as unsustainable, the reality is they'll be forced into a corner. That's when teams like the Bears, the Lions, or maybe even the Texans come calling with 2 first-round picks and a young talent in return. And once that kind of offer is on the table, it's hard not to listen. These are the kinds of decisions that shape the future of a franchise. One wrong move, and you're stuck in mediocrity for half a decade. One right deal, and you're building a new core that carries you back to contention. That's why these trade conversations matter, even in the middle of May or June. Because the seeds planted now could bloom, or wither, once the season starts. And if the Steelers come out of the gate strong, maybe none of this talk matters. Maybe they ride a hot start to a wild card spot or more, and all these names stay put, fighting for a shot at glory. But if the losses start piling up, if the offense stutters or the defense breaks, the phones will ring, and those 5 names we just discussed may not all be here by November. What do you think? Which of these players is most likely to stay? Which one, if any, should the team move on from while they still can? Drop your take in the comments, and let's see where the fan base stands. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. There are growing concerns within the Pittsburgh Steelers camp as rumors have surfaced that quarterback Will Howard has sustained an injury. While the team has yet to confirm the details, multiple sources close to the situation suggest that Howard, who has been a pivotal part of the Steelers' offense this season, could be facing a significant setback. The news comes as a shock to fans and analysts alike, as Howard has been in impressive form throughout the season. The young quarterback, who has shown remarkable growth and poise on the field, was seen as a key player for the team's push for a playoff spot. His ability to lead the offense with both accuracy and strong decision-making skills has made him one of the most promising quarterbacks in the NFL today. Although the specifics of the injury remain unclear, the Steelers organization has stated that they are monitoring the situation closely. There have been no official statements released, and no further information has been given about whether the injury is minor or could lead to a prolonged absence. However, the mere speculation of an injury to such an important player has already created waves within the Pittsburgh locker room. If Howard's injury is indeed serious, the Steelers will face a major challenge in adapting their game plan. Backup quarterbacks will likely need to step up in his absence, and fans are left wondering how the team will cope with such a potentially significant loss. Pittsburgh has had its share of injury woes in recent years, and the impact of losing a player of Howard's caliber could be a critical blow to their playoff hopes. Steelers fans have expressed their concern over social media, with many anxiously awaiting official word from the team. A few have even started speculating on possible replacements should Howard be forced to miss time. For now, the team is taking a cautious approach, hoping for the best while preparing for the worst. It's worth noting that the NFL season is notoriously grueling, and injuries are a common part of the game. However, losing a key player like Howard could have lasting ramifications for Pittsburgh. As one of the more dynamic young quarterbacks in the league, his performance has been central to the team's success this season. The next few days will be crucial in determining the extent of the injury and how the Steelers plan to move forward. Fans and analysts alike will be watching closely for updates, hoping that the rumor of Howard's injury turns out to be nothing more than that, a rumor. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.